Hello and welcome. My name is Marche Iverson, and I'm the Managing Director of the Mental Health and Addiction Recovery team here at MusiCares. I'm so glad you can join us today for what promises to be an insightful and empowering session. Today's webinar is titled Mental Health and Mental Illness Understanding the Difference, a topic that is often misunderstood. While we frequently talk about mental health in broad terms, it is important to recognize the distinction between mental health and mental illness so we can approach each with the right tools, understanding, and support. I am thrilled to introduce our guest speaker, Dr. Adrienne Williams, a licensed clinician who runs her own private practice. As an expert in the field, she brings a powerful and insightful perspective on mental health. She is deeply passionate about dismantling the stigma and shame that is often surrounds mental health in conversations. Please help me introduce and welcome Dr. Adrienne.
Thank you so much, Marche. I am so excited to be here, and I'm so grateful to what MusiCares does for this community. So let's jump in. MusiCares presents mental health and mental illness without further ado. Mental wellness, mental health, and mental illness. Mental wellness is simply positive mental health. That's what we're going to look at today. We're going to look at the difference between these three spectrums that fall on a continuum. Mental health encompasses emotional and psychological well-being, social well-being, and determines how individuals handle stress and relate to others. Whereas mental illness refers to diagnosed disorders that affect mood, thinking, and behavior. We often conflate mental illness when we're talking about mental health, right? And so I really want us to walk through understanding the difference. We're talking about that positive experience that we're having when everything's in alignment, when we're in good mental health. And mental illness is what we're talking about when we need more support. So mental health versus mental illness, let's understand the definitions. Mental health is defined as a state of emotional and psychological well-being, while mental illness is defined as disorders affecting thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. The significance in this presentation of these two very unique experiences of mental health and mental well-being are the foundation of this presentation. And so we will systematically dissect the nuances between mental health and mental illness, okay? We're going to examine the implications and explore strategies for promoting mental well-being in the music industry. It's critical that we look at the definitions and understand the concepts that we're discussing in their growing importance in contemporary society, right? Understanding these elements is foundational in fostering awareness and a culture of support for everyone in the music industry. This is across whatever piece of the spectrum that you fall in the music industry. There's something for everyone. It's also critical to appreciate the distinctions to foster awareness and empathy in the conversations surrounding mental well-being. So understanding mental health, let's get further into it. Mental health is not merely the absence of mental illness. It encompasses emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects how individuals think, feel, act. It informs how they handle stress, relate to others, and make choices, right? We're also looking at multiple factors that are influencing mental health. So number one, we want to recognize that mental health encompasses much more than just the absence of a disorder. We also want to look at life experiences, genetics, trauma, social dynamics, cultural context that shape the perceptions of mental well-being. Who has access to mental health care? What does that look like to feel isolated when you need support and not having a voice to connect to the support that you need? We also want to look at the indicators of positive mental health. And so that includes resilience, a sense of purpose, the ability to manage stress, and engaged relationships. Cultivating these attributes can significantly enhance overall life satisfaction, but also making sure that we look at the multiple factors that influence mental health and identify indicators of a positive mental state. We can guide interventions and promote well-being to make sure people are getting the supports that they need. So about mental illness and understanding disorders and their impacts. What constitutes mental illness, right? Number one, mental illness refers to a range of conditions that affect mood, thinking, and behavior. So these conditions can impair daily functioning and deter a person's ability to cope with everyday stressors. That truly impacts their personal relationships in their everyday life. So some of the most prevalent types of mental illness include anxiety disorders such as generalized anxiety, which is persistent and excessive worry about daily activities or events. Social anxiety disorder, which we see is really prevalent in the music industry, high levels of fear and worry about social situations that might make a person feel humiliated, embarrassed, or rejected. And we have mood disorders such as depression or bipolar 1 or bipolar 2 disorder. We have personality disorders such as borderline personality disorder, which is a deep fear of being abandoned. These folks experience really challenging relationships and have avoiding fears, and they're super susceptible to criticism and feeling rejected. And then we also have psychotic disorders such as schizophrenia or disillusional disorder, right? And so those are when we're on the extreme end of the spectrum. But each of these challenges present unique symptoms that require tailored treatment and strategies. When we're looking at symptoms and diagnosis, recognizing that symptoms that are persistent, like sadness, withdrawal, or severe mood changes, is essential for early diagnosis. Diagnosis often involves comprehensive evaluations by mental health professionals to ensure appropriate treatment plans are established. That's a critical piece to make sure you're having a proper evaluation and that you're given the care that you need so that we can understand what the mental health challenge or crisis could be. And then we have to look at stigma and misconceptions, right? So misunderstandings about mental health and mental illness often lead to stigma, causing individuals to avoid seeking support. So challenging these misconceptions means giving folks support when they say, I think I need to talk to someone, having a list of resources for them to go to, fostering a more supportive environment in the music industry by providing resources and providers who can address mental illness. So now we're looking at the spectrum of mental health and mental illness, exploring the continuum that I mentioned at the start of this webinar, right? Mental health exists on a spectrum. While flourishing individuals on one end and severe mental illness on the opposite end, right? This continuum model allows us to understand that individuals may fluctuate along this continuum throughout their lives, and they're going to be influenced by various factors. So now we're going to bring in touring, we're going to bring in the creative process, we're going to bring in family, having children, getting married, bereavement, all of these different pieces that these various factors that can influence this continuum model. And we also want to look at the interrelation between mental health and mental illness, right? So there's a complex relationship that we need to address. While poor mental health can predispose individuals to mental disorders, good mental health can mitigate the effects of stressors and help maintain stability during challenging times. Understanding the spectrum helps destigmatize mental health and mental health challenges, and it allows us to recognize the importance of timely intervention. That is a critical component to make sure that folks are getting the support that they need when they're experiencing crisis, and recognizing that you can talk to someone when you're feeling really good too. You don't only have to be in a crisis to access mental health support. That means if you're in a healthy place, you can talk about the things and the ways that you're flourishing in your life when things are going really well. That's another piece that people don't understand that they have access to. So letting folks know what they have access to. So mental health, mental illness, and the music industry. The music industry is this high pressure environment. There's high creativity demands, there's high levels of public scrutiny. And so these factors alone highlight the need for robust mental health awareness and intervention strategies that are critical for artists' longevity and creativity. There's a nuanced interplay between mental health and mental illness, and it's specific in the music industry. Remembering that mental health is fundamentally about our emotional and psychological well-being, while mental illness encapsulates a range of diagnosable conditions. So understanding this distinction is vital as we delve into the particular parts that challenge artists and industry folks in this high pressure environment of the music industry. Addressing these issues is critical, not just for the individuals involved, but for the health of the entire music industry. Historical silence and stigma, understanding the past. So we recognize that Historically, mental health issues have been rarely addressed in the music scene, just often leading to silence for affected individuals. And so, this narrative that mental health and music has been steeped in silence, right? That's what we're coming out of in this last decade. And recognizing that for many artists, they have historically faced the stigma leading to isolation and reluctance to seek help for their mental health issues and challenges. Um, for decades, many artists facing mental health challenges felt compelled to hide their struggles and felt like it was another layer of performance that they needed to master alone. This secrecy and this isolation has led to an inability to be vulnerable about the need for support. However, the conversation has begun to shift, and there's a greater awareness about the importance of mental health. If you cracked your tooth, you'd go to a dentist. If you broke your leg, you'd go to a medical doctor. And so, if your mental health is suffering, if you feel like there's mental illness prevalent, you go to a therapist, you see a psychiatrist, you go to folks who can help with those needs, right? There's a more open dialogue around mental health and giving artists and folks in the music industry what they need by having access to providers who can give them that care. So, mental health challenges in the music industry and the unique pressures on musicians, that's where we just started getting into, right? So, musicians create art that speaks from the soul, but they often grapple with profound mental health challenges. And so, the pressures of public performance, constant scrutiny, the unpredictable nature of the industry itself can lead to serious health issues. So, the unique aspects of their careers, such as the need for continuous creativity, public interaction, public performance, can significantly put a strain on artists' mental well-being. So here we see this image of Kid Cudi, who was very open about the stroke that he suffered in 2016 after checking himself into a mental health facility to address his relationship with cocaine, suicidal ideation, and depression. He's become a mental health advocate, and he took a break from the pressures of the music industry. That was at the encouragement of Dennis Cummings, who is his childhood friend and manager. That relationship also highlights the importance of community. Who is there to support you? Who can you be your truest, most authentic self with? Who's giving you space to breathe, right? To access that space. Again, that's that unique pressure that folks in the music industry face specifically. Let's continue this journey looking at artists who've been really open about the impacts of their mental illness on their health, right? So here we see these images of Kurt Cobain, we see Amy Winehouse, and we see Billie Eilish. And so Kurt Cobain and Amy Winehouse made headlines not just for the amazing music that they gave us, but for their struggles with addiction and mental health, right? Their journeys reveal how deeply intertwined mental health challenges and mental illness can be with artistic expression, that the impacts on their creativity, the work that they gave to us, the work-life balance, and the impact on their interpersonal relationships. So if we reflect on these narratives, we can draw critical lessons from the importance of creating a dialogue about mental health and implementing support systems that foster rather than hinder artistic development. Again, here we have Billie Eilish, who was very open in a recent Rolling Stone interview that she's dealt with challenges that include depression, anxiety, and self-harm since she was 13. So these case studies illuminate the urgent need for greater awareness and support structures. Again, opening up that conversation can equip artists and industry folks with the tools to cope and flourish creatively, but also to be a buoy of support when folks have mental illness challenges. Again, common stressors. Let's look at touring, right? So touring can lead to exhaustion, the disruption of personal routines, they diminish social connections, and they impact artists' mental stability. Ariana Grande shared about the PTSD that she suffered when she experienced more than 20 people being killed at a bombing at one of her concerts in 2017. She talked about how being on tour exasperated her anxiety, and she was really open about the support that she needed. Here we also see Big Sean, who was really open about counseling a North American tour in 2018 to manage his own anxiety and depression, giving artists a space to actually use their voice to care for themselves in ways that preserve their mental health and their mental stability is the space we should be encouraging for anyone in the music industry, right? Fame, while being desirable, brings its own set of challenges. So many artists talk about the isolation they feel despite their public personas. That's not necessarily the person who they are, but constantly being on puts them in a position to have to, again, not connect to what their truest, most authentic self. They have to be all of these things that people want them to be rather than just being the human that they are. How do we make space for them to just be who they are? And these stressors can be detrimental, again, to positive mental health and can exacerbate mental illness experiences. Recent studies shows there's an alarming trend in mental health challenges for musicians. Again, that's that anxiety, that depression, the isolation, and what does that look like? So musicians are statistically more likely to experience conditions such as anxiety and depression compared to the general public, again, because they are in a position of power that takes from the freedom they have to just be a normal human being. And even when I say a normal human being, I don't think I would know a normal person if I saw one walking down the street. What does that actually look like? That word should kind of be eliminated, but I don't want to get too tangential inside of this. But it doesn't allow them to just be their natural selves, right? And so when we look at other professions, that's back to those unique challenges that contribute to these increased mental health struggles compared to other fields. A plethora of studies reveal concerning trends regarding mental health for musicians. For instance, musicians report higher than average rates, again, of anxiety and depression as compared to the general population. And so this data lets us know that the psychological experiences of artists, we know that they need more support to make sure their mental health is in a space where they can flourish. The impact of industry, culture, substance use, competitiveness, understanding the environment. The culture within the music industry significantly contributes to the mental health landscape that we see artists and folks in the music industry navigating. Substance use is high and often stems from pressure to maintain social connections, but we also see substances being used as both coping mechanisms and as a means to socialize. And so where do artists and folks in the music industry draw the line when it comes to performing connection, right? Using substances and alcohol. Then we also want to look at the competitive nature of the industry. The intense competition can lead individuals to engage in harmful coping strategies. That's where we see, again, that increase in isolation, anxiety, depression, and self-soothing with substances. Additionally, societal stigma surrounding mental health hinders artists' willingness in their attempt to seek support and help. So industry initiatives and support systems, right? So organizations supporting mental health, organizations like MusiCares and Help Musicians UK are paving the way for providing vital services, resources, and networks dedicating to addressing mental health issues within the music community. As we navigate through available support systems, it's important that these organizations provide a range of services from financial assistance to counseling, specifically addressing, again, the unique challenges that musicians face. Moreover, it's critical to underscore the need for awareness and education, equipping individuals across the spectrum in the music industry with knowledge about mental health can transform industry culture, fostering an environment where artists feel empowered to speak up and seek help. So we have, those are the program and resources that are available. And so that includes workshops, resource guides, equipping artists with necessary skills and awareness that they are empowered to speak about their mental health challenges and the support that they need. And of course, the importance of awareness and education. raising awareness by promoting education about mental health, creating a culture of openness and support within the music industry, and encouraging the dialogue will enable and prioritize artists' own well-being without fear of stigma. Navigating the landscape of mental health for support is critical and crucial for artists. Various organizations provide these vital resources, but barriers do still exist. So understanding these barriers, from financial constraints to geographical limitations, is critical to fostering that supportive environment. Industry stakeholders have a unique responsibility to enhance access to much needed mental health resources to artists, period. So addressing mental illness, treatment and support, navigating help and recovery. There are many therapeutic interventions, including cognitive behavioral therapy, also known as CBT. That's where we're looking at cognitions and behaviors, our thoughts and behaviors, and how can we work through those to change our actions, right, and experiences. Dialectical behavior therapy, DBT, which is a type of talk therapy for people who experience emotions very intensely. Trauma-informed care. There's big T trauma, little t trauma. Trauma-informed care is using evidence-based interventions, and these are pivotal to treating mental illness. We also have medication options. So much stigma around using medication to support your mental health needs, right? But medication can play a vital role to helping folks be balanced. So we're looking at their being balanced in their own bodies. And it's important that medications can be used to mitigate side effects to achieve the best outcomes when we're looking at mental illness. And we're also looking at support systems and resources. So again, robust support systems help folks to not only be medically compliant if we're using medication, but also help folks to engage in other types of therapeutic intervention, back to that talk therapy. Right. So creating systems together for comprehensive strategy for recovery and overall well-being are critical. And that's where we see all of these pieces come into alignment. So reframing the narrative, normalizing conversations, shifting perspectives on mental health. So the importance of open discussions about mental health, making folks feel safe to talk about the support that they need, creating a culture where mental health discussions are normalized is critical. It's okay to say, I need support. I'm not feeling like my best self, or I don't even feel like myself. Making sure folks are able to use their voices in ways that provide the nourishment and care that they're seeking. Proactive strategies can help promote a culture of openness around mental health within the industry. Again, that's that normalizing of conversation. By facilitating open dialogue, we can dismantle the stigma that so many artists face when they're seeking help and support. And so the role of the industry in changing perceptions, this requires active participation and commitment from industry leaders to change perceptions and promote mental wellness in meaningful ways. And we see that this is one of the ways that MusiCares is leading the pack, even with webinars like this, to make sure folks have access to understanding their mental health and understanding their mental illness, and hopefully creating space where they can have access to more of what they need. Action steps for industry stakeholders implementing change. What does that actually mean? As we work toward improving the mental health landscape for the music industry, it's vital for industry stakeholders, including record labels, management, and artists, to take meaningful action. This means implementing supportive services, practices, creating a nurturing environment, advocating for more mental health initiatives. All of these are critical steps that can profoundly impact artists' lives. Chappell Roan took time to address industry stakeholders when she accepted her Grammy this year, giving voice to many artists who may suffer in silence simply by asking for access to quality health care. Industry stakeholders can play a significant role in supporting and promoting mental health initiatives and creating healthy lives and support systems for artists and folks across the industry. Strategies for promoting mental well-being in the music industry. Let's start with self-care practices. Self-care is so much more than bubble baths and bonbons and manicures and pedicures. I want us to look at engaging in self-reflective practices such as mindfulness, meditation, outdoor activities, exercise. Meditation doesn't have to be sitting in silence. You can have a moving meditation by taking a walk outdoors, but being in the sunshine and in the fresh air is so critical to our well-being. I am a bit of a woo-woo provider, so I would say something like it raises the chi, which is your vital life energy. When we're looking at self-care practices, right? How can we be intentional about the ways that we are caring for ourselves? Regularly engaging in activities that promote relaxation and joy is also pivotal to maintaining a mental health balance, right? Creating supportive environments. So that means cultivating spaces where mental health conversations can occur without stigma, allowing for mentorship, peer support, and community building among artists and for folks across the music industry. Encouraging open conversations, fostering a culture where discussions around mental health are normalized to break down barriers and motivate artists to share their experiences about seeking help, about the experience of what it meant to be supported when they did seek help, and ultimately enhancing overall well-being is what will happen from normalizing open conversations and can help to continue dismantle stigma and shame around needing support. As we move forward, it is our collective responsibility as industry professionals to facilitate these changes. So more strategies for promoting mental health include emphasizing, again, self-care, community support, professional interventions. All of these can empower individuals to take charge of their mental well-being and develop resilience. Community plays an essential role in mental health, knowing that folks have more than just themselves, friends, family, chosen family, can provide encouragement, validation, and a shared experience. You're likely not in this experience alone, and that can contribute to a sense of belonging, well-being, and resilience. To belong is such a critical piece because we often feel so isolated. So community support is pivotal. And professional help and therapy options, again, utilizing, CBT, interpersonal, group therapy, talk therapy, can improve mental health outcomes for individuals struggling with mental illness. The impact of mental health on daily life. Individuals with optimal mental health often foster healthier connections. So mental health significantly influences interpersonal relationships. So if folks are struggling with communication, intimacy, or conflict resolution, making sure that they are in a mentally healthy space significantly reduces challenges in these interpersonal relationships. Let's also look at work and productivity. Poor mental health may lead to absenteeism, reduced efficiency, conflicts at work, whereas good mental health enhances creativity and collaboration. Mental health status directly correlates with job performance and productivity. We also want artists to recognize that their worth is not connected to their productivity. We also want to look at physical and health connections. So recognizing that there's an interconnectivity between mental health and physical health is critical. Mental illness can lead to physical health problems. Chronic physical conditions can adversely affect mental well-being. So the healthier we are in our bodies and our minds, that mind, body, spirit connection is real. And helping folks recognize that trilogy is real. Even if you take spirit out, mind and body work together. So as we move into conclusion, moving forward with awareness and action, let's look at our key takeaways. Recognizing the importance of mental health awareness can transform the music industry, ensuring the well-being of artists is prioritized alongside their creative contributions. It's imperative that we navigate the complexities of mental health in the music industry as we focus on actionable steps forward. The call to action for the industry is to cultivate a culture of understanding and empathy where mental health is championed alongside artistic process. We also want to look at the future outlook by recognizing the hard-learned lessons of artists who have bravely shared their journeys. we can ignite a change that paves the way for the future where every artist and industry worker has the support they require to flourish. As we strive towards a future where mental health is openly acknowledged and supported, we can expect a more resilient and sustainable music industry filled with creative expression and collaboration. Now, I want you to share your thoughts. I know that this is a pre-recorded Q&A, but I do run two weekly wellness groups. And so you can find me on the MusiCares website. You can email me at adrienne@mylifeepiphany.com. If you have questions, if you want to talk, know that I am one of the folks here to support you. Thank you.